No.
All right. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We do have some exciting news. This year is our largest growth year ever with over 745 new locations. That is
Wow.
over 4,800 locations that are registered to participate in national reads across America. And over 4,800 communities that are coming together to honor our veterans. And this milestone would not be possible with the hard work and dedication of all of you guys. So thank you so much for all you do and joining in with the mission and helping us honor the veterans in your communities. Um, we're very excited for this year. So first things first, Saturday, December 14th, is National Reads Across America Day, and it is just 32 days away. Is that correct? It is very close. It is coming up very fast, and we are ready for it. And so, this is the day that we join hands across the nations to remember our veterans by placing wreaths at the resting places. So, before we get started, um, or get into all the fun things about the Cutoff Forum. Last year, we began a tradition of having a youth lead the Pledge of Allegiance during our November educational webinar. This year, we are very excited to welcome Graham, who's 5 years old, and he is our Region 5 liaison, Annie Brooks' son, and he is going to be here today. We're going to keep everyone else muted because last year, if you were on here, it got a little bit much with everyone talking. But we're going to have Graham, who is very excited to be here with us today and is very eager, and he is going to lead us on the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you all just look at the flag on the screen and join in with Graham as he leads us in the pledge now. Go ahead, Graham.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Graham. Now your mom's probably going to make you go to bed.
Nope, I'm sitting down here. I'm sitting down here. Wait.
All right. So thank you all for joining us. We are going to just take a little bit of time to talk about some things as we go into the season, our busy season coming up on Wreath Day. So it's just around the corner, which means it's time for that last big push. With the cutoff dates for guaranteed delivery coming up quickly, we want to make sure we help our communities rally around this important moment. Make sure that you're motivating your supporters by reminding your community that each wreath directly honors a veteran and makes a meaningful difference. Encourage your family and friends and local groups to join in. This could be through a personal ask, a phone call, or a social media post. You can also boost your reach by using our network and using our networks and sharing the mission. Share stories that touch people, bring the mission's heart to community meetings, and keep the mission visible online. Social media, especially, is a great way to reach people, and each post really makes an impact. You also want to make sure that you're creating a sense of urgency. And you can do that by sharing your wreathometer and letting people know that there's still time to help get a wreath for every veteran at your cemetery. So this year, to help us account for early Wreath Day, because we're back to that second Saturday versus the third Saturday, and the growth of new locations, we have multiple cutoff days. So the cutoff days are based off the regions, and you can see that breakdown here for region 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Um, the cutoff date just means that all orders placed by your region's cutoff date are guaranteed for delivery for this National Reads Across America Day. So it's really important to get those sponsorships in on time. But if you have sponsorships kind of come in after that cutoff date, we're still going to do our best to get you those wreaths, get those wreaths on the trucks before it loads. We just can't guarantee that they'll make it this year. We have been known to chase down trucks to get some last wreaths on there. So never think that it's too late. Do send in what you can. But if you want to make sure that it's guaranteed, if you have money in hand, you want to make sure you get it in by this cutoff date so that it is guaranteed. And the good news is that any wreaths that don't make it will be credited towards next year. So keep sending that money in. If it doesn't get on the truck for this year, you've already got a head start for next year. And the cutoff date applies to all types of orders. That's mailed in, online, and funds that you still have in hand need to be accounted for by that date. And we're going to talk about cutoff forms. Back in over here. in just a few minutes. But first, we're going to talk about how many wreaths you have. So there are three ways to see your current wreath count: the wreathometer, the wreath count report, and your research orders. The wreathometer is a helpful tool that shows a live count of orders you've received. It gives you an instant snapshot of your progress, which can be very motivating and help gather support. And again, we've talked about using that wreathometer to create that sense of urgency by sharing that image on your social media pages or in emails, or you can print it off to have at booths and that you may have when you're having an event. We have seen some people who have created their own poster board kind of wreathometer where they color it in as they go at events to like show people where they're at and how close they are to their goal. Your wreath count report is another way that you can see your wreath count. Keep in mind that this report syncs every 24 hours during our scheduled overnight updates, so it's not live like the wreathometer or research orders, but it is useful for tracking your overall accounts. The research orders, that's also a section that provides live reports of orders. What's great about this area is that you can individually thank each sponsor through the messaging and help strengthen those important connections with your supporters. The wreathometer and research orders, again, are live. They're up to date. When you place an order online, you're almost going to immediately see those numbers increase. On some days where it's a little bit heavier traffic, it may take a little bit of time, but it's usually pretty quick. And again, that wreath count report is not live. So you may see, well, I have this number here on my wreathometer, but my wreath count report is saying it's a little less. And again, that's just because one is live, one is not. The next day when you come in, you'll see that it's synced and it should be reflecting, unless you've had more orders in, which you should hopefully. And then so it's always going to be a little bit ahead. If your wreath count report is showing a higher number than your wreathometer, that's when you're going to contact your liaison. Sometimes, because if there's a lot of orders coming in, those pages just get a little stuck. If you were on the location or fundraising Facebook page, I can't remember which one it was. Recently, there was a conversation about a wreath count, wreathometer not updating, and sometimes they just need a little push from the system. So if you ever see your wreath count report is showing more wreaths than what is on your wreathometer, reach out to your liaison so we can help you with that. For online orders, these process quickly and they'll be visible on your dashboard within 24 to 48 hours. This means you can see the impact of your outreach almost immediately. Mailed orders, they process individually as they come in. During peak times, like the busy season, which we are in now, they may be added in bulk as called summary batches. Because of this, individual sponsorship details may take 6 to 8 weeks to appear, where you see that breakdown in the wreath count report, until January, once we have a time to go through and unbatch all those. And depending on how many we actually get, sometimes it may take a little bit longer, but again, it's at 6 to 8 weeks. But the wreath count themselves is actually in there so that we can make sure you're getting your wreaths on time. And you can log into your account at any time to view those reports. And if you need help, you can download some volunteer tutorials that we have that tell you all about the ins and outs of it on our volunteer resource page. So when you're checking to see if you have any previously mailed funds that have been received, so you mailed in a bunch of checks a week ago and you want to make sure that they're already there, you're going to start by taking a look at your wreath count report. And you're going to click on that details tab. From there, you can see a breakdown of all of the information. And it's important to make sure all of your previously mailed orders have been received by HQ by your regional cutoff date. When looking into your wreath count report, they can appear individually or in batches, which will be listed as a summary under transaction type. If you see a summary batch entry, don't worry. That just means that several orders were grouped together for processing, which is totally normal this time of year. And there's no need to contact your regional liaison for batch entries as long as you're seeing that there. You see that summary batch, it's just not going to have a name on the order. It's going to say summary and it's going to have your dollar amount. So if you've sent in a batch of checks and that dollar amount matches up, then you're good to go. Lost my place in my notes there. If you don't see something that you mailed in and it's getting kind of close to cutoff day, don't wait till the last day to reach out to your regional liaisons. Just give them an email or give them a call. try to have in hand any tally sheets or order forms that you have, so that way they can look into all that while they're on the phone with you. Or if you send it over via email, then that just kind of helps them be able to like actually locate where it's at. And if you haven't explored the details tab on your recount report much, there are a few ways that make it easy to read. You can sort the data by clicking on any column header to arrange it by date, alphabetically, or you can by amount. Since this report can be pretty big, don't forget that there's scroll bars you can scroll over. And you can also, if you want to dig deeper, if you click those three dots in the right-hand corner, you can export this into an Excel or paste it over in Google Sheets, depending on whichever you prefer. And you can kind of sort it and keep it for your records going forward. So for online orders, those also need to be received by the cutoff date, which would be 11:59 on your regional cutoff date in order to guarantee delivery for this year. If you're a little bit late on that order, don't sweat it. We are not sitting here at 11:59 exactly and saying, that's it, it's cut off. We're going to come in the next morning. And if your location happens to ship the next morning, as long as it was in there, it's going to be in that count. Because again, those orders go in and they update their live. So it's going to update almost immediately. So you're going to be good to go there. So a lot of times we get questions because there's so many people in different time zones. Or which time zone? What if someone goes on, if a volunteer places it at, midnight their time? It's going to be fine. Because again, we're not sitting here at 11:59 to say, nope, they're cutting it off. We're going to get those in. And as long as your truck hasn't left, we're going to continue adding wreaths to that delivery. We want to get you every wreath that you need to help cover as many veterans as you can. Your online orders will also appear on that details tab of your wreath count report within 24 to 48 hours processing, and you'll see them reflected on your wreathometer and research orders almost right away, which is a great way to just get those live counts up to date to kind of know where you're at. Keep pushing. In the last week, if you're getting closer and closer to your goal, make sure that you're doing a push, regularly. If you're on social media, it's a great place to be like, hey, we are just 10 wreaths away. Someone, help us out on those last 10 veterans, to create that sense of urgency to get those wreaths in. All right, so now we're going to talk about the cutoff form. So, for those of you who have been here before, this is probably a little bit familiar to you. If you're brand new, don't get overwhelmed because can be a lot of information, but your regional liaison team is going to be here to help you. So this year we are doing the cutoff form a little differently. So as in the past, the cutoff form will serve as an IOU of sorts. You're saying that you have X number of dollars in hand and that you will send it to us and we'll send you X number of rates for it. The cutoff form is only for checks that you have on hand, not for previously mailed in or online orders. And you will submit the form for the money you have in hand that you want counted for this year's rate count. So if you have a bunch of checks and you're already fully covered for this year and these checks are for next year, you do not, or to go towards wreaths for next year, you do not need to submit a cutoff form for those. You can go ahead and just mail those in as normal. And it would actually be really helpful if on the envelope you indicate that they are for 2025 wreaths. So that way, when they come in, because the finance office, they get a lot of mail this time of year and they're getting totes and totes of mail every day. So if they see on that envelope that it's for 2025 re-sponsorships, they're going to kind of put that to the side and say, okay, let's get these other ones done first, and then they'll go through those second. So that way, if we have trucks that are there loading and we're trying to get final counts, they can prioritize the ones that are for this year. Um, and so the biggest difference here is last year we had you fill out a cutoff form for funds that were mailed in, but you weren't seeing in your wreath count. This year, we're not going to do that. If you have already mailed in those funds, you are not going to submit a cutoff form for that. If you look in your wreath count report and you are not seeing that as a summary batch or as a broken an order itself, you are going to contact your regional liaison. And they are going to help you locate that. And if it's not, they can't find it, that's when they will help submit a cutoff form on your behalf so that those wreaths are accounted for. So to get ready to fill out a cutoff form, you're going to make sure that you gather all your checks you have in hand that you want included in the 2024 delivery. Next, you'll complete a tally sheet for a sponsorship form. And if checks are for multiple locations, you're going to fill out a separate tally sheet for each location because you do have to submit a separate cutoff form for each location. So when we run these cutoff forms, it comes into our system and it tells us we have this number of wreaths for this location because we're looking at like a 2-week turnaround from time we're getting these orders, we're getting them shipped, and it's wreath day. So it all is moving very fast. So we need to make sure that we are as efficient as possible here. Um, so you're going to fill out a separate cutoff form for each location that you are sending checks or sending cutoff form or funds in for. However, if you have a check where that dollar amount on that check is being split between locations, you're still going to fill out separate cutoff forms for it, but you're going to just put it on one tally sheet just like you normally would because we don't want to split out that check. This is on here and this one's on here, but it's all the same because that can get real confusing. So if the dollar amount on a check is being split between locations, you are going to put that on one tally sheet and you're just going to use that same tally sheet for both cutoff form submissions because you do submit a copy of your tally sheets, order forms when you submit your cutoff form. So the next thing you want to do is make sure you have your documentation ready. So take a photo or make a copy of those tally sheets, order forms, whatever you are mailing in with your checks, which we hope are approved forms to make things go smoother. You're going to have that ready to go because you are going to need to submit that with your cutoff form. We'll talk a little about that more a few slides down. You want to make sure it matches the funds that you are reporting on the cutoff form. With those forms, make sure your group IDs, all that's on there, make sure everything matches. It's going to make things go a lot faster. And while you're filling out the cutoff form, you're going to be asked to upload that. You'll receive your cutoff form this year. You are going to receive that cutoff form a week prior to your cutoff date. And this is also another new thing this year. During this time frame, any funds that you have on hand, you'll submit a cutoff form for. So as we get into the week of going into Thanksgiving, it's crazy that's like 2 weeks away. Uh, so if you've got your cutoff form email that's got your form, it's got all the instructions for it because we will give these instructions in that email when we send it out as well. When you receive that, once you get that form, you can start submitting a cutoff form for any funds you have in hand, and then you can still go ahead and mail them in as soon as you receive that approval email. And that way it ensures that in that last week, if you mail that in, even if you're sending it priority overnight, it does not always make it in that time frame. Things tend to be a little bit that time of year. The post office can be a little bit slower. Any of you that have been around know that the headquarters of Raise Across America is located in a very small town of Columbia Falls, Maine, with a very small post office. And they're not always open 5 days a week. They kind of do their own schedule. Not quite sure what's happening there, but it can be a little touchy sometimes whether when they bring us mail. They do pretty good that time of year because they understand the priority behind getting all the mail to us, but it can back up quickly because it's only one person who works at that post office. So you want to make sure you're going to fill out that cutoff form for any funds that you have that you're mailing in once you get your cutoff form. And that's just going to save you from having to worry, like, is this going to make it there on time? Because once that cutoff form's received by us and we send you that approval email saying you're good to go, you don't have to worry about it anymore. We've got it. We've got that in our wreath count, and you're going to get those wreaths for this year. So after our team reviews it, we receive that cutoff form. The cutoff form does still need to be received by that 11:59 on your cutoff date. And again, we're not sitting here at 11:59 on that night. So if it's a few minutes late, don't stress it. If you're sitting in it at midnight on your time zone, it's going to be fine. The biggest thing is that we come in the next day, it's here, it's ready for us to review. We will review it. Your liaison team will review it. And some other of our lotion. Oh my goodness, words are hard, guys. Location and groups department are going to be working on it. Megan, myself, and Rochelle, and we will approve it. You will get a cutoff form approval email within 1 business day of you submitting it. And once you get that email, it's going to have instructions of where to send the cutoff form, where to send the funds, going to have the address, everything in there that you need. You're going to print that off. You're going to send it with your cutoff form. This is very important with the fund. You're going to send that approval, that document with your tally sheets, your order forms, your checks, all that. And we're going to, on the envelope, where you're going to write cutoff on it. So that way finance knows, hey, oh, this goes with a cutoff form. They're going to be able to quickly grab that and process that. And again, it just helps us make things move smoother on our side if we follow all the steps. And if you don't, if there's something that doesn't match up with your approval form and you don't receive that approval email within 1 business day, check your emails, check your voicemails, because most likely we're going to be reaching out to you because we have questions and we just got to confirm it. So on the form, again, we talked about that 1 location per cutoff form. So you're going to select your location on that cutoff form. And if you, again, have funds for multiple locations, it's going to tell you that you need to fill out a separate cutoff form. So we make this pretty foolproof. It's going to say, hey, what location? You're going to pick your location from the drop-down list. If you don't see your location on that drop-down list, contact your liaison, or you can also click other, and I think that it'll let you type it in or submit other, and then contact your liaison, say, hey, I submitted this, it was missing my location. We do have to manually update that list. So sometimes with as many new locations and groups that are coming in, we miss a few. So if you signed up yesterday and you get your cutoff form and it's not there, don't panic. We'll get you taken care of. You will be asked, again, if all the cutoff forms are for 1 location. If you say no, it's great. You're going to go on to the next question. If you say yes, it's going to tell you submit a separate cutoff form. And on that drop down list, once you start typing the ID in, it'll start generating down that list so you can just pick it right from there. I thought I was missing something, but I was looking at the next slide. It has been a long year, guys. All right, so next, same thing, similar for groups. So you want to make sure that you're selecting the correct location, that you're selecting the correct group to make sure that everyone is getting the credit that they need. You'll be asked which group you want to get credit for the cutoff forms you're reporting. Make sure you select that correct group, because that will also have in the group name, it's going to have the group plan on there as well. It'll say 3 for 2 or $5 back or no plan, whatever your group type is. If that is not right, contact your liaison before you fill out that cutoff form. If you're like, well, I didn't think I was a $5 back group, I thought I was a 3 for 2 group or something. I mean, it's late in the year. We should have already caught that, guys. But we're all humans. So if it doesn't look right, do not fill it out. Contact your liaison and let's figure out what's going on. Next, you're going to have your total dollar amount for your cutoffs. And here you are going to report the total dollar amount of cutoffs you have in hand for that cutoff form. This is not, it's just what you have for checks in hand, cash in hands, not from the past, not ones that have already mailed in, just in hand. And it's important to make sure that this amount is in decimal form. So don't forget to include the cents there. And this is only, again, for funds that are in hand, and you will just enter the exact amount as a straight $17 wreath. So if you're a 3 for 2, $5 back or no plan, it does not matter. You're not going to have to do the math here like, oh, I have this many wreaths I need, so I have this many dollars. You're just going to say, I have $533 in my hand right now. This is what I'm putting on this form, $533.00. And then that will calculate internally upon submission. So once you upload your tally sheet or order forms, the final step of that's the final step of completing your cutoff form. You'll upload a copy of that tally sheet or order form that we told you to take pictures of earlier, and you can upload the document as a JPEG, PDF, a doc, or an Excel file. And for those of you who remember last year, you could only submit one upload. This year, you can submit up to 4 documents, and then if you get to 4 documents, it's gonna tell you to just email any others to your regional liaison team because you can't handle more than that. But you can upload to 4. So if you have, 3 or 4 tally sheets, that's amazing. Great work on getting that many sponsorships that you're submitting, and you can upload each page individually. That way we can check, make sure we have everything accounted for when it comes in. All right, so once you upload your documents, and you got your everything submitted on there, your dollar amount, everything's great, everything's good, it looks good, and you're going to get that submitted. And again, you're going to, after that, you're going to have receive that email from us within 1 business day, it's letting you know that it's approved with the instructions of how to send it. So check your emails for your spam folders, because sometimes we do go there and how these come. If you do send it, and again, you don't send that email with the approval form within 1 business day, you haven't received a phone call or email from one of your liaisons, you want to reach out to us to see what's going on and make sure that we got it. Please don't ever assume that if you haven't heard anything, you don't got it, like, oh, it's probably okay. When in doubt, reach out. We would rather hear from you. If you have any concerns, we'd rather make sure that we have that form in hand, because it's always easier to fix it the more time that we have. And again, it is a very short time frame this year between cutoff date and wreath day. So if it's 2 or 3 days and you haven't heard anything, you haven't gotten anything, make sure you reach out to your liaison so that we can take a look at that. Once you get that email, again, you're going to, or it's going to have the instructions of where you can mail it. It's going to have the mailing address, the physical address, however you choose to send that. And you're going to make sure you write cutoff on that form, that envelope. And again, these instructions are going to be in that email for you. And we will do our very best to get every cutoff form that's after the cutoff date still entered, so you can still submit them. Some people will keep submitting them afterwards. If the truck hasn't left, we will continue to add those on there. But everything that is received by that regional cutoff date, that is going to be guaranteed for this year. And just remember that you can expect to see those cutoff funds detailed on your wreath count report by about the end of February, because again, they're going to kind of enter those as like batch entries so that they can focus on making sure that the wreath counts get in there and are accounted for and on the trucks. They will still scan the checks, they'll get into the bank, so there's no delay there, but the breakdown of the individual name of the sponsor and all that on the check will be batched out later as they go along. And just as a reminder that those of you who are if you're using approved forms, if you're making sure that all the information is correct and accurate, it does make it go the process for breaking those back out a lot quicker for finance. So help us help you. Make sure you're following the instructions, make sure you're putting all the information on, make sure you're writing cutoff on that envelope so that we can match those up a little bit quicker too. And I know that was a lot of information. And if you've done this before, you're like, oh, okay, I've done the cutoff form. It's pretty much the same, other than just a few things that are new this year. If you're brand new, you're probably going, oh my gosh, don't overthink it. This is just to help us know, to make sure that we are not missing any orders. And again, think of it as like an IOU. You're saying, hey, I want you to send me this many wreaths. I have the money for them. I just haven't had time to mail them in, or I just got them and I want to make sure that they're accounted for. And we're going to make sure. And when in doubt, reach out to your regional liaison team, because we can help you. We're going to help you answer any questions that you have about the cutoff form. They can walk you through the process, and we do have that whole week to be able to fill out those cutoff forms. And you can submit up more than one. So if you submit a cutoff form on the Monday that you get your cutoff form because you're excited and you're like, great, I have these checks I'm going to put in the mail today. I'm going to submit a cutoff form for them. And then 2 days later, someone brings you some more checks, some more donations. You can submit a cutoff form. You can continue to submit cutoff forms up until your cutoff date. And again, even after, it's just the ones that are received by your cutoff date that are guaranteed for delivery this year. So now with that said, and again, we are going to have instructions and an email that goes out with your cutoff form. So this is all going to be written out for you. These slides are going to be available for download on our volunteer resource page. So we're gonna go over this many times. All right, we're gonna go ahead and open it up to any questions. Let me get my screen up here. So if anyone's got any questions, you can raise your hand or you can just unmute and start ask and we can work through it. And it doesn't have to be a question specifically about cutoff. It can be about other Reads Across America things because this is our last webinar of the year. And we know that you guys all have lots of stuff going on. So.
Hi, this is Lori from Pennsylvania. I have a question regarding. Hi, I just started this a couple years ago. So when I put in my goal or the number of graves that we needed wreaths for, I didn't know that number at that point. And right now it's very high. And I just got the amounts from the cemeteries and working with the VFW locally here. So how do I lower that that count so that I don't get all of those wreaths? Because right now I have more than I need, but I'd like to roll them up for next year.
Absolutely. So you're just going to reach out to your regional liaisons up through, if it was earlier in the year before November 1st, you could just go in and change your veterans wreath grave count and your goal to adjust that. But since we are after that November 1st date where we lock down those pages just so that the information isn't constantly changing on us as we verify everything, you will have to just reach out to your regional liaisons to make that change for you.
Okay. Yeah, I tried to get on today and it said it was locked. So I did reach out to my liaison. I just did a little bit ago. So I'm sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure they'll be back in touch with you tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, Julie, I have a question. This is Ralph and Diane in Illinois.
Hi, go ahead.
And last year, it seemed like it was kind of hit or miss. They moved the date for the delivery of the wreaths. But I was understanding, probably wrong about it, but they were going to let us know when the wreaths were closer to being delivered so we could be ready. And I just parked myself where we were expecting them, and then all of a sudden they just showed up. So I was kind of glad we were in place.
Yeah, so it is, unfortunately, it can be hit or miss some years. These, the wreaths are delivered by donated truckers. So people the truck drivers who are out there donating their time and equipment to do it at no cost for us, which is why we're able to send all the wreaths with no shipping. Some are better than others at contacting, keeping in touch, keeping that communication open as far as like their time frame. Some will start reaching out and set delivery dates and stuff. Some are already calling to set up delivery dates, and some are going to wait and do it last minute. The biggest thing is it is very fluid up until after we get through cutoff day. So right now, like we have loads that are set. They're kind of said this truck driver is taking these locations. But if one of those locations jumps up to get a lot of wreaths in before cutoff date, then now it's outgrown this truck, so we have to refigure that whole load. So a lot of times what will happen now is you'll have some trucking companies that'll contact you and say, hey, I'm bringing you your wreaths, and then next week they're not bringing you your wreaths anymore. It's a different truck driver that's bringing the wreaths. So there's a lot of moving around right now. As far as like last year, I can't speak to it specifically, without like looking into the details. It can happen. We do ask them to give you 24 hours notice with that date. And again, some are better than others, and some are better at just keeping that communication like, hey, something came up, I got to shift it, I got to move it from this date to that date. What we just encourage you to do is just kind of be on standby. If you have, we know a lot of you guys are working and you have other commitments. So if you have something that you're like, hey, my schedule is kind of, I don't have a lot of flexibility in it, find someone who does, that can kind of be on standby. Or if you have the Reese going to a location where someone's, kind of always at, like the cemetery or a business, so that there's always someone there to receive those, that's helpful as well.
Okay, thank you.
So I know, not a great answer. Basically, we do our best to work with the volunteer drivers.
Well, that's okay. My wife and I are both retired, so if we wanted to, we could camp out, but we really don't want to camp out a whole lot on that.
We just want to keep you on your toes,
Yeah.
And again, if you have questions, reach out to your liaison. Sometimes they can get you in touch with the driver if you haven't heard from them and you want to touch base, like, hey, you still coming at this time? And they can help do that too.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is not, Julie, this is my first year as a location coordinator, but not my first year involved in Wreaths Across America here in Lynchburg,
Mhm.
Virginia. What
Okay.
we always say is the Wreath week, do not make any appointments. Be ready for the phone call. So for us, the week of the 8th of December, everybody is on call. And that
There you
seems
go.
to work. I
Yeah,
start with the Sunday. I say the week of. And we've been lucky that it's worked out. It's worked out very, very well. But yeah, I've been involved with it, but this is my first year as coordinator. So
awesome. Well,
it's interesting from
wishing you luck. Yeah. You learn all
Thank
kinds
you.
of new things. Well, I hope it goes well for you and wish you lots of luck this year with your first year in this role.
I got a question,
Thank you. Thank you.
please.
Yeah, it's a whole new. In this case, Julie, it's almost a whole new team.
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Same
I have a-
location. We've been at this location since 2008. So this is the 17th year at this location. But
That's awesome.
our work team is relatively new.
Mhm. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you for
Hey, we're all
stepping up to do
learning
that. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
I
We
got
have someone else was asking a question.
I got a question for you.
Go ahead.
When the wreaths arrive,
Mhm.
we're kind of wide open and it's really windy. Is there anything that they can be attached on the wreaths that attach to the markers or anything like that?
So not the markers. You definitely don't want to do anything on there that could, stain them, leave marks behind. Our wreaths, they do have a
No,
coated
I
ring to
realize
prevent
all of
that.
that because I know where they're going to be laid, but is there anything we can stick into the ground to
Yep.
stabilize them?
So we do have some people that have used like ground stakes. They have the metal ground stakes that are like a U shape. I don't know what they're called.
Nothing
You can
comes
kind
on
of
the
use those
wreath.
to stick down in there.
They're
No,
called
nothing's
that's-
on the wreath.
They're
Okay,
called
that's all.
landscape.
That's what I needed to know.
Hi, this is Janelle from Region 2. They're called landscape staples, and you can use those, and they do secure the wreaths very well. But I can tell you, up on the hill at our national cemetery, we have ferocious winds, and the wreaths really do not blow.
Boy, everything else does in our cemetery. I'm sure these would too.
So
The wreaths do weigh about, they're like 3 to 4 pounds. So
yeah, they're
they
pretty
do
heavy.
have some weight to them.
Ah,
They're pretty
right.
heavy, but the landscape staples, you can buy 100 of them for like $8 at your local hardware store and just put them through the bottom of the wreath and they're not going to move.
You could also ask your local hardware store,
To
or
donate
Lowe's
them.
to donate them. Yes.
Yes. And they will,
Yep.
especially if it's a mom and pop hardware store, they're more than likely to donate them than say a big box store.
Yeah. Thanks, Janelle, because even though I bought some the other day for my Christmas lights, could not think of what they were called. I just know what they look like because I use them.
Landscape staples.
All right. Does anyone else have any other questions?
Julie, is next year's ceremony December the 13th?
I'm looking at Megan because I think yes. I have a horrible memory. Okay, I know this information, but then I second guess myself. I'm pretty sure yes. I think it's the second Saturday for the next 3 years,
It's
and then we
December.
go forward.
It's December 13th, 2025, just to help you out.
Thank you, appreciate that.
And Julie, this is my 17th year to do it from the state of Iowa.
That's awesome. It's Patrick. I
Yes.
can't. The way Zoom has done updates recently, and I only see some of those times when people are talking. But yes, you've been around a long time. We've been doing this a long time.
I opened the cemetery in 2008, and I've done it every year since I opened up the cemetery. So
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, we appreciate all you do there. You guys do a great job to cover your cemetery too. So
yes.
Hey,
that's
so this
awesome.
is Jackie. I have a quick question regarding
Mhm.
those landscape staples. So I
Mhm.
just quickly looked out on Amazon just to see. So there's 6-inch, 10-inch, and 8-inch. Do you guys know what size we need to get?
Jackie, we do the 10-inch here. But seriously, don't order them from Amazon. Just go to your local mom and pop.
Oh
hardware
yeah. No, I just wanted to go take a look at the pictures, see what they were. So that, and then when I saw the different sizes. So does everyone get the same size?
I don't know about that, but I'm just saying what works for us up on our windy hill when we have to
And
deploy them.
I've never heard of anyone saying they got some that were too small or too big. So I kind of think it's and I mean, maybe don't get like some like really tiny, like 2-inch ones or something, but I think it's kind of a one size fits all because you can kind of finagle the wreath
Bend them a little bit. Okay.
to do it.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right, great. Thank you.
Cindy, you've got your hand raised?
I do. In years, I think last year there was like you got nothing else to do, Jules. There was a nice graphic with like the next 3 years of dates that I have used on social media and others.
Yep,
other
and
things.
it is
I'll drop it in
circulating.
the chat.
Yeah, we do have one this year. Like I said, I know these dates. I just have a horrible memory. Okay,
Well,
I've
and
been here.
I
I've been
have the
doing this a
dates,
long time.
I have the dates. It's just not pretty. Like, you guys make it pretty, and mine's
Yeah.
pretty much ugly. So
Yep.
Thank
So
you.
Sam has definitely made some of those for us this year, and we've shared them a few times. And like Megan said, she was going to draw. There you go. There's one in there right now in the chat. You can download
See?
that.
Boom.
And yep, there you go. Easy.
Thank you. Thank you.
And these are great to just share with people. Share them on your wreath day so people kind of know when to plan out for them for the next couple years. So. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? Was there any questions in the chat? I think it looked like most of them were answered.
This is Sue Nist from Florida.
Mhm.
Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead.
Well, first, I just want to ask, why are they doing the 18th in the whatever year that was? Because that's 1 week before Christmas, and a lot of people leave town. Why didn't they do it on the 11th?
So we kind of rotated between the second and the third Saturday. And it really just kind of depends on how Thanksgiving falls and the dates. So the 11th is, I mean, yes, we have the 13th, wherever, and it's pretty tight. Even this year with the 14th, that is 2 weeks is a very tight time frame to get wreaths to over 4,800 locations. We'll do it. We've done it before. Well, not to 4,800 because it's our largest year ever. But it's doable, but it gets a little bit, if you get too close to the cutoff date, so to Thanksgiving, it just doesn't allow time for people to do proper fundraising, to be able to get all their sponsorships in, and to be able to get those wreaths made and turn around and shipped out in time for everybody.
Yeah, that's only 7 days before Christmas.
Yeah, we've done it. I'm trying to think what's the latest we've done it before. I think we've done it like the 19th.
We did do
Before.
it the 19th. We did do it the 19th, and it worked out
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, my first
Yeah.
year was the 19th. So, and I had a lot of school kids and stuff like, no, we're going to be gone. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it worked out.
And
It worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, you're going to have some people who are going to be gone. But you know what? Maybe they can join a ceremony at wherever they're going to visit their family for the holidays. It also works in reverse where you have people in your community who maybe are in town visiting family, and they'll be able to come place wreaths on, their loved ones' graves that normally they're not in town for. So, you're never going to be able to make it work for everybody. So for us, it's more of a logistics standpoint, giving everyone time to do their fundraising through Thanksgiving and making sure that we have adequate time to have those wreaths made and shipped out in time.
So I have one more question. Has there
Mhm.
been any thought to not having the page that shows your goal and how many to your goal and the percentage? Because we are fundraising year round. And we don't want people to stop donating if we reach our goal, because we want them to know that those are going to roll to the next year. And if we didn't have the rollovers, it would be very difficult to make our goal. So is there any way that that can either be presented in a different way so that it's not like, oh, well, they've reached their goal, I don't need to give them any money now?
Yep, absolutely. So you can change that goal at any time. So if like say you have 500 veterans wreaths and you've got those sponsored, you're halfway through the year and you're working on next year. That wreathometer is actually powered by your sponsorship goal. So when you are in your pages, managed pages, which you don't have access to edit that goal right now because the pages were locked down, but you can still see it. That goal, you can increase it. You could say like our goal is 1,000. And what that's going to do is that's going to take that wreathometer from showing as fully covered to only showing as like halfway there. So that way, when you're promoting it to the public, you can still say, hey, like we're halfway to our goal. And your goal does not have to be what your veterans grave count is. Your goal is what you are hoping to raise. If that's going towards portion of it going towards next year, you can continue to increase and change that goal throughout the year to make sure that people are staying motivated to continue to fundraise. We have some locations that they're covered for a few years out, and that's what they do. They update up that goal so that it continues to show them as not covered, so it doesn't impact any fundraising. But as far as for us, having those wreathometers there, it gives us some transparency so that people can see what there are for sponsorships, because we do feel like we owe that to the people who are out there sponsoring wreaths to see what the actual sponsorships are.
Hey, Sue, just give R2 a call tomorrow and we can adjust that for you.
Thanks, Janelle.
Thank you.
All right, I see Becky, you've got your hand raised.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I had trouble getting in tonight, but I'm here. Last year, we got our wreaths a full, I think, 10 days before the laying day, and we had trouble finding a truck and a place that we could store them for that long. And we have no truck this year because the person who did it last year moved. Do you have any suggestions where we might go? I've checked with local U-Haul places. They gave me information. I followed up on all of that, and I got absolutely nowhere getting a truck from U-Haul.
How many wreaths do you get?
Last year we got 876. We're hoping to do more than that this year.
Okay, and I'm assuming you can't store them at the cemetery?
No, ma'am, we cannot.
Okay. So, I mean, honestly, small town, like local routes, go to your fire department, see if they have trailers. If you are anywhere near a military base, sometimes we're willing to do it here locally I'm outside of Fort Liberty, and they actually have the Army brings the wreaths into our state veterans cemetery with military trucks, and they store them at a local fire department, and they get about 8,000 wreaths. So check around like some other options like that. VFWs, American Legions, they can bring them in on trailers. You can tell people with pickup trucks that have trailers, it's kind of a grassroots kind of effort there. So those are some different options. If you don't have a local trucking company that's willing to do that, you can also check with some of your local grocery stores or department stores and see if they have some space in their warehouse where they would be willing to store the wreaths for you. And a lot of times they have box trucks that they can actually use to bring them in on wreath day. And if you make a big to do for them, like, hey, you can come in and be a part of our ceremony, like we can escort your truck in, kind of give them a little bit more incentive to be involved. A lot of times that helps too. Lots of different options, and I would say probably reach out to your regional liaison team, because they're going to be your best resource for that, because they know exactly where you're at. They're looking at your numbers. They can kind of look around and see what other options may be in that area.
Yeah, the first year they
Thank
came in on
you.
Thursday, the 2 days before, and we just placed them out in the cemetery. Because we figured 2 days it would not be a problem. And I've stored them in the National Guard Armory, and I've stored them at American Legion Hall. And then on Friday, the day before, the American Legion guys know that we are moving the wreaths, so they show up with trucks and trailers and move them. You just have to
Yeah.
ride herd on them to make sure that they don't just dump them in somewhere like they've done a couple of times.
Oh.
But hey, they're helping move them, so I can't complain too much.
Yeah, and a lot of times we had one year here again, just locally, just because that's what it's fresh in my mind here. They had the plan that they had in place was not able to fulfill that, and they put a Facebook post out. They have a Facebook page that they use for the location. They put a post out saying like, hey, we have 8,000 wreaths that we need to get from here to the cemetery on wreath day. And they were like, bring your pickups, bring your trailers. And they had a bunch of people who showed up the day of. They brought their, pickups, had trailers on, and they got all 8,000 wreaths over to the cemetery on time for the ceremony. And they just made it a part. They had a big procession, and there's lots of different options there. A lot of people want to help. And you just have to, find the right way to ask, get the word out there to the right people who are wanting to help. But if you ask people like, hey, would you bring a pickup with a trailer? A lot of people will, if they have that ability to do it, they're happy to do it. So, but yeah, reach out to your regional liaisons. Lots of options. They can kind of give you a little bit more one-on-one help there.
Another idea, you guys, and this was a total surprise to us during COVID lockdown, is storage pods. The people who bring pods to you to move your homes, which would be lots of different companies that have these. We had somebody donate a bunch of storage pods to us at Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery. We just asked and they said, okay, and they brought these out. So don't be afraid to ask. The worst they can say is no.
Yeah, absolutely. And Janelle likes to refer to herself as just the Region 2 liaison, but she was actually also the location coordinator for Jefferson Barracks National Cemetery for 7 years, where they get like, what was it, like 40, 50,000 wreaths that she's dealt with delivery there. So she definitely is familiar with some of the different challenges there. So that's why she always comes in with all this wonderful, helpful
All these
information.
weird
Thank you,
stuff
Janelle.
that I come up with.
All right. Do we have anyone else that has any other questions?
Yes, this is Tom from Illinois.
Hi, Tom. Go ahead.
We are a very small cemetery. We are fortunate that we are covered 100% every year, and we've always done everything online. This year, we are going to get a check to cover what the remaining wreaths that we need, and we've never sent a check in. So my understanding is if I get this check before my cutoff date, I can just send it in. My cutoff date being the 2nd.
Yep. And you're just going to make sure that you have your sponsorship form, your order form. So each year when you sign up, when you get that registration email, the liaisons will send you an email that has links to the forms that are customized for you, that have your group ID and your location ID already on there. If you cannot find that, you can reach out to your regional liaisons and they can resend that to you just to make sure you have the correct information. Because if you don't have that location ID and group ID on there, it can cause problems because we're not going to know where to give it credit to it. So just make sure that you do have that order form with those IDs on there. And if you're like, so with it being, I'm looking at the calendar, with yours being the 2nd, if you're coming up and you're like, okay, I'm going to be getting that email any day, you can also just wait and submit it with the cutoff form. So that way you don't have to worry about the mail or any of that. And you can be sure that it's there and you've got the cutoff form.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. Does anyone else got any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Mhm.
I'm Janet from Pennsylvania. I received a re-sponsorship order form for someone or from someone, and I'm not sure if on the re-sponsorship order form, they listed two names for a name for memory wall post, but I don't know if there are do grave specifics go on this form also or no?
So you should there's a grave specific sponsorship form and there is just a regular sponsorship form, depending on if your location accepts those. Now, if it is just
Yeah.
says it's a memory wall post, that's different from a grave specific. And they may be using an older form. That is something I would have you just reach out to your liaisons for the best answer there, because that's one of those things where I could answer it many different ways, but I think actually seeing the form and they would be able to give you a more
So there's
personalized answer for exactly what you need.
Okay, because this person, they bought 4 wreaths and she listed 2 names, and then she puts a note. She wants 2 wreaths placed in the town at the War Memorial. And I think it's not that far away, so we can honor that. I don't know if people have had those kind of requests in addition to our regular veterans at our cemeteries.
Yeah,
But of
I'm
course,
sure it's what some people on here have, because some people they will, and I think it's great if you're able to do that. That's wonderful. But yeah, that definitely reach out to your liaisons. They can help you making sure that all that is accounted for the way that it needs to be for submission.
okay. And I had another question. I saw that we received a purchase of 5 wreaths, but they listed a different cemetery than ours. And I know this cemetery is doing it because the VFW is doing this other cemetery. Um, and uh is it allowable for me to confirm when I do the thank you, to confirm that that's the cemetery that they wish to have the things at? Is that appropriate?
I mean, if you think that if you're concerned that it might not be, yes, absolutely. When you email them, you can certainly say like, just these wreaths are gonna be placed at, blah 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 cemetery. I actually had one recently through my own location that someone placed, and it was very specific. And I'm like, this is a like pickup location only. There's no graves here. I don't think you picked the right cemetery. And I messaged her through the system to confirm that, and they did pick the wrong cemetery. But it's also very possible that they intended to be that cemetery because they may have some family there, but they still wanted to go through your group. But they said, oh, hey, I have some family at this cemetery, so I want to sponsor some wreaths there. But yes, you can absolutely, confirm that to make sure. We want to make sure that the wreaths are all going where they need to be.
Okay. And then with that, with our 3 for 2, when if she bought 5 wreaths, so 5 wreaths are going to go to this other cemetery as it is now. Do the extra ones, do we get them or does the other cemetery get them?
So the matching, it's going to go. So the way that it goes, it's figured in the system. It comes in at the time that it's ordered, and it kind of just counts it all in there. So it would go to whatever location was on that order. And if you go into your wreath count report, if you were on for that portion of the call, we talked a little bit about that wreath count report
I missed
that
the
has that
beginning of the call,
breakdown.
sorry.
No problem. So if you go on our volunteer resource page, we have a dashboard tutorial, and it gives you like a breakdown of the wreath count report. And again, your liaisons can help you with that too. But in your wreath count report, in your managed pages, you can actually go click on details, and you can see the breakdown of the wreath that was paid for and the 3 for 2 wreaths that were applied. So you would see that those did go to the location that was on the order. So if you ever have any questions there, that's a great place to be able to see like the breakdown and how those wreaths are applied there.
So it sounds like those two additional or 2.5, whatever it is, additional wreaths will go towards the other cemetery.
Yes, they're going to go to the
Probably.
location that was on the order. Mhm.
Okay. Is there any benefit for our sponsorship group for people to order through our group and do them at, have them put elsewhere, or?
I mean, it's just you're promoting your group, you're getting the word out there, and you're going to have some people again that they may say, oh, hey, I have an uncle in this cemetery, I want to get some wreaths
Yeah.
over there, so they choose that other cemetery. So it's still moving the mission forward. You're, as a 3-for-2 group, you're not benefiting directly from it, other than we're moving the mission forward. We're helping honor veterans, even though that is at another cemetery.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, and by the way, I was late because we were having a dine and donate for this program.
Oh, awesome. Well, I hope
That
it
was
went
a good
well.
reason.
Yes. We won't hold it against you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
All right. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. Hey, so I guess I misread when this call was going to start. I apologize for that. You guys, when did this call start?
8 p.m.
8
Eastern Standard
p.m.
Time.
Eastern, that's what I've got. Okay, I thought you were Central. That makes so much sense. So, okay. I think
It was recorded, and it will be shared on the volunteer resource page by the end of the week too. So if you missed anything, you can
okay.
always catch it there too.
Okay, cool. I don't know if I necessarily have any questions. I just was gonna listen to the info to see if I missed anything, because we're getting so close to it. And yeah, but I think that I'll make sure that I listen to the recording.
All right, awesome. And it's kind of a lot of it just went through the cutoff form, which,
Okay.
as I've told everyone in the webinar tonight, is we are going to give you instructions upon instructions upon instructions. So there will not be any lack of that. When we send the email with the cutoff form, you'll have information on that.
Okay.
And the email that comes once it's approved, you're going to have information on, how to send it in. But yes, you will be able to view this on the volunteer resource page by the end of the week, so you can hear all that too.
Okay, cool. This is my 3rd year of putting these in for my organization. So is there a bunch of changes with it, or
The biggest change is that we are not having you submit cutoff forms for funds
okay.
that have already been mailed in. So you would only submit a cutoff form for money that you still have in hand that you haven't mailed into headquarters yet. So that's the biggest change there. In the past, we've had you submit cutoff forms if you didn't see it in your wreath count report. And this year we're just having you, if you don't see it in your wreath count report, you're going to reach out to your liaisons with tally sheets, sponsorship forms, dollar amounts, whatever information you have. They're going to see if they can locate that in the system. And if they can, then it's good to go. And if not, then they will put that cutoff form in for you. So just kind of making it a little bit clearer, but versus funds that were mailed in versus what hasn't
So
been.
I guess in the past, I remember the cutoff form was only needed if you didn't make it in by your deadline. Is that still the case?
Yes, that's still going to be the same. But you can send it in because the cutoff form is due by that cutoff date. So if you
Okay, yeah.
have funds in that last week, you can still send it in using that cutoff form
Okay,
and say, hey,
okay.
I'm sending this in.
So because that's the day that I'm like, okay, we have to have all of our fundraising done like 2 weeks before this so I can get it in. So I've never had to do the cutoff form. So, but I
Oh,
understand
awesome.
the use. I understand the use for it for sure, because you want to make sure that happens. Okay, cool. Thank you, and I'll watch the recording.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are coming up on 9 o'clock. So if anyone has any other questions, well, we're actually past 9 o'clock, but if anyone has any questions, speak now or email your liaisons.
Just want to say great job, Julie.
Thank you. Even though I started choking there at the end. Got through it. It's that time of
It
year,
always
all the
happens.
germ.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining us for our last webinar of the year. We're so excited. You guys have worked so hard, and we're very excited for Reef Day this year. It's going to be a great year, lots of growth, and thank you for all that you do. If you need anything, reach out to us, and we're going to be here to help.
Okay, have a
one
good
more
night.
time. Reach out to your liaisons.
Yes, they love it when I tell you guys that. Reach out to your liaisons. You can see their contact information on this wonderful slide here. They are happy to help
We
Janelle,
are.
right, at all times. All right. Thank you guys all, and have a
Thank you
wonderful
guys.
evening.
Appreciate you.
Thank you
Nicely
all.
done.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.